Hey folks, this is Les from SixS1, and I am here with this video to introduce you to some of the features that we have built into our new human figure, Scarlet. Now, Scarlet is made for Poser 10 and forward. We're using the latest version of the software because it has some bells and whistles under the hood that we're taking full advantage of to bring you a set of proportional controls that are a little different, and I would like to say a little more advanced than the scaling that folks may be used to from Poser Past. So without any further introduction, let's jump right into this. You'll see we have Scarlet loaded into our scene. We'll go to the body of Scarlet, and you'll see that there is a group of dials here called proportion controls. We'll go into this, and you'll see under proportion presets, we have two sample presets made for you. Now, I say samples because one of the things that this system will do, it will allow other content creators like ourselves to put together combinations of proportions that we can then use in conjunction with things like ZBrush to build out other body shapes and just combinations that we can then save back in and create new proportion presets that you can then buy those packages and inject them and use those characters that we create that way. And this allows us to have a new kind of control over body shaping and proportion that is far more interactive and successful with the rigging in the figure than perhaps the scaling that people are used to in Poser Past. So looking into these presets, we're going to look at Little Person, and if we drag that dial, you'll see that we go from her human normal proportions to something that's more akin to, say, a fantasy dwarf, or something that would work really well for building up dwarves, halflings, the goblins, things that are kind of more indicative of the fantasy genre, which is something that's very important to us. We do a lot of fantasy work. So if we dial that back, you'll see it just returns back to her normal stature. But let's turn that back on. Actually, let's turn it off. We'll apply a pose and show you how it's virtually seamless in the way that this applies, even with poses. So now anything that's going to change the shape of a figure as drastically as some of these settings do, you may end up with the occasional tweak that you need to make, like right here with this arm. But we're confident that the degree of success you'll see and the degree of compatibility and the ability to blend these shapes over poses and animations that you may have is going to be a lot smoother than what you may be used to. So let's run that preset back and restore our figure. And I'll show you the next preset. This one is kind of a cartoony setting called Bobble Tune. And I really like this one. This one's great, especially if you turn on cartoon shading. We could do all kinds of stuff with that. Or if you go into comic book and you play with some of the settings so that you get the the nice drawn lines and things. This can become a basis for all kinds of cool, kind of goofy stuff. So let's turn that back off. And again, if we apply our pose, and we can bring this up, you can see, again, maybe just grab a joint somewhere that, if you have just a tiny intersection somewhere, but for the most part, it's really solid. So let's pull that back. We'll come out of the presets now and get into specifics about using the advanced proportion system for body shaping. Okay, what we've done is really optimized the way that scaling and the joints work inside Poser using skin weights and a number of things that are under the hood. If we go into head and neck, you're going to see the ability to increase the head size very smoothly. We can also extend her neck. Now let's take a look at the feet. And here, since this is something that can operate symmetrically, we've included a single dial to do both feet with the same value. Or, let's say you were doing some kind of a monster or something that you wanted to have a broken asymmetrical sort of silhouette to the character, we could dial in an amount just for a single body part. So here we would have, the large foot. You could build all kinds of character out of that just right off the bat. I'm a big fan of being able to have all kinds of asymmetrical things in character designs, and I feel like it just gives you a lot more to look at. So let's turn that back down and take a look next at the hands, where we have a similar setup. So we can do the hands all at once, or we can do them separately. Then the torso. This one's kind of interesting. We can elongate the torso quite a bit, or we can crunch that down. Then the legs. The legs are particularly interesting, I think. Let's extend those out, or shrink them in. And last, the arms, which I feel like gives you the ability to sort of strike this balance between Freddy Krueger and Monty Python. So there you have a quick look at all of the different dials that are on the body for the advanced proportion system. Then there are dials that are also on each body part that are listed under scale. And you'll notice that we still have the traditional scale dials here, but we've added a thing called length, because most of the time what you want to affect when you're changing a character's proportions is going to be length. And there are times when you may want to change the length of just the forearm instead of the entire arms, or just the shoulder instead of the forearm. And again, we make these available so that you can craft your own really unique character silhouettes and proportional eccentricities with that in a way that really gives you a lot of control and a much finer level of control over scaling and proportion than we've had before. The last thing I want to show you about this is going to be how these work in conjunction with our full body morphs. Now, by default, Scarlet has 3 full body morphs included in the base kit: bodybuilder, heavy, and very thin. And one of the things that we're doing is making use, again, of some of the features that are inside Poser. Now, for most users, the nuts and bolts of this really aren't going to matter. What matters is that you can drag and drop the clothing onto her. It will lock on and follow these morphs and follow those proportional changes very accurately with, I would say, 99% success rate in how it conforms and just works. I mean, that has been my personal goal the entire time in developing this figure, is to create a human figure experience where things just work. So let's take a look at these full body morphs, and you'll see with bodybuilder, okay, clothing follows the morph right out of the box. And then, of course, we could bring in the proportion presets and have all kinds of interesting things that we can do there. Now here I'm pushing these past 1. These are sculpted really for a limit of 0 to 1, but I've decided to leave these open to go, some of them to go a little higher. This one goes to 1.5. Because sometimes people want to push things in an extreme like that. So here you can see we have the little person proportion preset engaged, and then we turn on bodybuilder, and you can really bring in the mass and bring in muscle, and it still works very, very smoothly with all of the bending and posing of our figure. If we take a look at heavy, you can add some weight. And just as a personal thing, I think I've seen a lot of times where full body morphs for female characters and male characters that have been, trying to give a heavier look have almost been kind of rude. Never really cared too much for a lot of what I've seen out there, and because there are some softer, curvier people out there who are quite beautiful. So I wanted to make sure that with this we gave that some attention. And here, if we dial back the little person, you can see that heavy doesn't mean grotesque. She can have some curves and some softness, and then you can combine that with the proportion controls to really shape that out into a really pretty, voluptuous sort of body. Then last, we use very thin, which just removes some mass and brings out, a little more skeletal structure in the figure. And again, this works seamlessly with the rest of our proportion system. So just between these three kind of archetypal body shapes and all of these proportion controls we've included, we're very confident that that this gives you a very wide palette to draw from for creating your characters. And as I said earlier, also with the proportion presets, we will be releasing packages that add more features to this, more presets, more combinations. There will be more body shapes and things released that just add to that palette, and all of it will work seamlessly together. So thanks for watching. This has been just a brief introduction to the Advanced Proportion System, one of the key new features of our figure Scarlet. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you will pick up a copy of Scarlet, play with her, and make some great artwork. So again, I'm Les. We're 6S1 Media. Thanks.